foremost. So if you're tuning in tonight, just come into the chat, let us know your thoughts on obviously all the breaking news stories, whether that be transfers, the fact that we're not going to be able to kick the season off at Ibrox. Obviously we've seen the new home kit's been unveiled and will be purchasable by tomorrow at 8, did you say?
I think it was either the Mora or it was next Friday. I'm pretty sure it's
is it next
the
Friday?
Mora. It might be the Mora at 8 AM. They usually do an announcement and then
Anyway, give your
release it the
thoughts
next
on
morning.
that. I'm saying classic NTL vibes off it. I mean,
I think it's a bit basic, but
it is, but to be fair, some of the basic kits I prefer, to be honest. You go too much, sometimes there can be too much going on and there's mere ways to get it wrong.
Well, what more can you do with a home kit, to be honest? Like a Rangers kit, you're doing a blue kit and that's it. Let's be honest. But I quite like the fact that this
the only thing is, I've heard the home kit's not got to be available for the first month of the season. We're going to have to borrow some bibs off of some other teams.
Can I just say that is a shambles? So obviously, if nobody's aware, right? Basically what happened was...
It's absolutely front of the queue for embarrassing.
Aye. Basically what happened was pretty much the midway through the summer, like a couple of weeks ago, Rangers basically announced that the work they were doing on the Copeland stand wasn't going to be scheduled to finish because of bits and pieces that they had ordered didn't turn up in time. Somebody gets sacked over it. We don't know who it was. It'll be some contractor,
club here
project
that's competing in Europe, that's worth millions and millions of pounds, that's one of the biggest footballing clubs in the world, and you're going to let a shambolic situation like this happen whilst you're in the middle of a rebuild, try to get things right. Obviously we come close last season, finishing second, bringing the new manager after all the shit we had to deal with at the start of last season, with Beale coming in and it being a shambles on the park, and
CEO's left as well,
and then this
happens. But my point is, how, if your planning works like that on a stadium, how is it took this long, or how have you shaved it this close that you've somehow managed to end up with a slight delay on some parts, bits and pieces of the stadium, and it caused a delay for the start of the season? See, as soon as you announced that expansion of the stadium or those building works, you should have been ordering the parts for it. In fact, before even an announcement, you should have ordered the parts.
Mate, it's just unacceptable.
Necessary.
It's unacceptable. It shouldn't be happening at this level of football.
Well, exactly.
I mean, let's go back in years prior. I mean, how many times has this happened to a major club in a major league? It can't be many times. So you don't want to be front running this race on how disastrous a start to the season can you possibly achieve before the season's even kicked off. We've barely got half our signings in the door, and already, I mean, it just... The problem is, mate, is it just creates another hurdle, another obstacle in the way. The start of the season, you want to start it off fresh, new faces in the building, and all of a sudden you're going to be kicking the season off at Murrayfield if we're lucky.
I know. Well, James put in the chat, how you doing, James? I watched Ibrox rebuild last time, no problems then. Aye, exactly. But
so it's
the
clearly
fact of the matter
incompetency by those who are behind the rebuild.
The most annoying thing is the fact that we've now announced the fixtures for the new season, fast approaching. We still don't even know where we're going to be playing the home fixtures. No got a Scooby-Doo where we're going to be playing the home fixtures.
Crazy, mate.
Aye, it's absolutely bonkers. Trying to buy the cheap.
That was the problem, I think. I think we were looking for free agents in the steel department, to be honest.
But aye, that's
Evening, Wallace, how we doing? We're just obviously keeping it relaxed tonight. Just jump on to see what everybody thinks of obviously the situation regarding Ibrox. Obviously the news surrounding transfers,
basically
and just generally. We want to talk Rangers. We're choking to get back. We covered the 3 Scotland games, and we need to turn tides again.
We'll talk about how made an arse of myself in the last video as well.
Well, again, obviously, I don't know if it was necessarily you making an arse of yourself, but
The
it's
Daily
just the
Record
kind
made
of
an arse of me.
these stories. It's the way they're framed in the papers first of all, and then how quickly this gains momentum on Twitter. Obviously, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you watched our last video, you obviously do. It's the whole Tav scenario. It's the whole is he beat? I mean, first of all, can I just say, right, if the story's true, right, we don't need to worry
we
about
don't need to worry
anything.
about anything.
But
Aye.
but I just can't wrap my mind around the Daily Record, or was it the Daily Record,
So,
the original source of this story?
Basically what happened was, so the Daily Record and Football Scotland both at the same time posted on Twitter 2 separate articles that basically says Jack Butland has to replace Tavernier as captain. Right, that's what the article said. So obviously I went on and I went, right, well, I'll need to tell all the BlueSea boys and lassies about this immediately. So I went on, done
Nice
a video.
inclusive language there. Keep it up.
Aye.
You do realise our demographics 99.5%.
There might be one in here, right? But aye. So I went on, I made the video, edited it, posted it, and literally half an hour later, I went on to Twitter and one of the, I think it was Ibrox News or something like that.
Parkhead Bahoy tuning in for the Rangers stream. Unbelievable.
Cheers for that. Basically what happened was they posted saying that the Daily Record and Football the Daily Record edited the article to go from saying Butland's got to be the captain, Tav's getting dropped for Butland to be captain, and that, like,
it just grew arms and
changed
legs.
they changed it to Butland will be captain if James Tavernier leaves, which is a completely different story. So then I'm sitting there like that. I mind I phoned you and I'm like, I'm going to have to take this video down because it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But at the same time, right, the Tavernier rumours have been here for a while and seem to be growing and growing and growing. And obviously we came to the conclusion that it would be as well leaving the video up because maybe take the gamble because there's a good, like, the story seems to be growing arms and legs, and also the fact that if
well, I mean, it wasn't a story. It wasn't a story you literally plucked out your arse.
Well, the thing is,
do you know what I mean? It comes for the papers first of all, and then I jump onto Twitter as well. Without, I didn't even know you were making a video at the time, so I'm looking on Twitter, and the consensus on Twitter is that Tav's basically
Butland was getting the captaincy.
Butland's getting the captaincy.
That was it.
And I mean, it's just the age we live in. I mean, we live in an age of quick fire news, and obviously you want to be quick on the story. You want to let people know what's happening, when it's happening.
I know, and it can trip you up sometimes. Sometimes you go and you report the story.
I mean, you try and keep your guard up. We knew this was what it was going to be like during the summer, with speculation flying left, right, and centre. Look, we were in there, one of the first ones to release the video on Barn, when there was speculation surrounding Barn, and I'm coming to Rangers. We were right on that. I mean, whether the Tav one we're going to be right or wrong on, to be honest, I can't see how he remains at the club.
Can we just say as well, when we say we're like, we're no reporters, right? We don't have inside knowledge. We have no ties to Rangers whatsoever. Nothing. We literally are just two Rangers fans, two mates who like sit down and talk about Rangers. That's it. That's all we are, right?
But what I will also say as well is that there's purported Rangers channels out there on YouTube that are completely AI generated. They're produced and written by robots. There's not a human touches the video before it goes online. And bear in mind, there's some of these videos get like 15 to 20,000 views, and that is complete bogus nonsense, because some of the videos are like Clement sacked.
Aye,
do you know what I mean? And this was a few
weeks
ago. So there's people who tune in to watch that. I mean, we try and do our best to cover things quickly, but also cover true things.
Aye, you get what you get.
We're
just talking about it. But at the same time, like these same channels, like I personally guarantee you that these kind of AI channels will be one or two or three are a group of folk that staying one for Rangers, one for Man United, one for Celtic, one for Arsenal, one for Chelsea.
And they're not going to stop doing it because they'll get thousands and thousands of views, and that's the real clickbait that you need to worry about, because there's nothing, there's no fact on the other end of it.
No,
at least we're drawn for something that was first of all published in the papers, but then it's not as if it was just, you're not just going off the papers, you're also going off reputable Rangers sources on Twitter. Big Rangers like names on Twitter were tweeting about this, so at least even discussing the possibility that Tav was being dropped as captain, which would obviously, or more than likely, mean he would have been heading out the door. Now, let's just settle this once and for all and get everybody's opinion who's in the chat. I mean, should Tav still be Rangers captain when we kick off this new season? I think that's why this story grew so quickly, is because it is a massive question.
Well, it's a debate that we've been having all season for the past 2 seasons, probably. Yeah. And the thing is as well, like, there's no doubt, and I've seen somebody say this on Twitter, I can't remember if it was Heart and Hand or somebody like that, but basically they were like, if James Tavernier stays at Rangers, he will be captain. I don't think.
Well, it's an absolute better move if Tav gets stripped of captaincy and remains at right back for Rangers.
No.
I certainly wouldn't be wanting to field Tav at right back, or anywhere on the park for that matter, if he had been stripped of captaincy. Being stripped of the captaincy now is basically Clement saying you're not good enough to be the captain. So for me, he's not good enough to be captain, he's not good enough to play or be at the club. Do you know what I mean? What a demoralising way to start his season. So if he is going to be stripped of captaincy, he's definitely on the way out.
And the thing is as well, having come off like an unconfident end to the last season, like stripping that captaincy would, and intending to keep him, would have been bonkers.
Aye,
it'd have been bonkers.
I just don't see that happening.
He end up with completely destroying confidence going into the new season. Also, Tav would be known as the player that got the captaincy stripped from him, which would further fuel the fire for one half of the Rangers support who says Tavernier should definitely be shown the door.
Something I want to say as well, so obviously the story gets published in the Daily Record first and foremost, right? So where are they hearing that if Tav's stripped of the captaincy, then it's going to Butland? They must have an inside source at the club, obviously.
No, the papers
which leads you to think that there's clearly discussions going on round about that area at the club. Then it's fed out to the papers. Either that, or they're just completely making it up.
There will be whispers like inside the club. Every club's got like a source, a leak. Like it's modern football, right? Yeah. Like you look at the likes of like Fabrizio Romano, right? He's only so successful because of the sources he's got within clubs. Now, Fabrizio literally, if he picks a Rangers story or a Rangers league to follow, there's a good chance Fabrizio's the first person who's going to report that story, because he's got contacts, pals, connections everywhere. Doesn't matter what club it is. Yeah. So it further proves that there are people inside clubs who will,
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's a lucrative business to sneak 100%. Inside information and feed it to the press.
That's the thing.
But there's also, that's the problem it creates, is there is so much just rubbish.
Well, the thing
and that's what you've got to worry about in the day at internet journalism and tweets that are just plucked out of thin air.
Well, you remember like back in the day, like when on transfer deadline day for Rangers, like as like a teenager and as a child, it was like Christmas to me. It's like Christmas Eve, just sitting down there. It's deadline day. You've no got a Scooby. What's going on? What's happening? You used to sit there watching for any mention about Rangers or Scottish football in general. Who's coming in? Nobody knows. Not even the papers know. Sky doesn't know. You just end up getting an announcement. And I think that's kind of been, even though I like the whole discussion and it's created an industry around like basically rumours, like folk making money for rumours rumours like connections and sources for within clubs, and I like that, but at the same time I don't, because it's kind of removed there's something nostalgic in me that's sitting in front of the wee guy sitting in
because
front of the
deadline
telly.
day used to mean something. It doesn't really mean anything now because
you already know everything.
There's too much information out there, and you already know when a club's get their eye on a player.
Well,
so
what's demoralising? Getting to 3 o'clock on deadline day, and somebody with inside knowledge goes, that's Rangers done for the day.
That's the kind of point I'm dreading in this transfer
how
window.
demoralising is that? But like, you kind of lose all of that hope. But at the same time, right?
Because we certainly do still need a number of bodies in the door.
100%. It gives us something to discuss as well. Like,
what do you think the fans' opinion surrounding the latest signing of Connor Barron is? What's your feel of it? Like just scouting Rangers Twitter and getting people's opinions when he was first announced, when it was made official. Obviously.
First of all, everybody watching, jump the chat, give us your opinions on Connor Barron. My opinion on it is, in the way I saw the reaction, was it was a complete and utter no-brainer.
Aye.
There was 2 no-brainers. One, Kelly, who was signed today. Barron, who was signed last week was it? And obviously we've got the likes of Ryan Jack leaving, with McLaughlin leaving. There's 2 Scottish homegrown slots you need to fill for European registration.
Something we got majorly wrong last year. Obviously, you looked at our bench last year as well. There was just Michael Beale set us up for the Europa League in a sort of disastrous way.
Well, the thing is, we had one injury and we were looking at the bench and we're going, Christ, we might have to play Scott Wright at fucking left wing here. Like, that's how it was.
But that's what I'm hearing complaints in terms of, because obviously we've got Ryan Jack, ex-Aberdeen, Scott Wright, ex-Aberdeen. Both of them very limited involvement in the squad over the last season. Obviously, Scott Wright's been one of the most used subs, I would imagine, but nobody's particularly glad about that. And it's Scott Wright's one of the first names that comes to the top of your mind when you think about who should be leaving this summer.
100%. Like, Scott Wright was one that never worked, I don't think.
I mean, Scott Wright was one that was nearly on a flight out of here anyway, and then the deal fell through, and then he had to stick around for another season. So you're only going to get so much out of a player who's basically halfway or 3/4 of the way out the door.
See, when Scott Wright came, I don't know, do you think anybody, and you can let us know in the chat, like, did you think MD thought he was anything more than a fringe player?
Well, maybe when we initially brought him in, you thought there was potential for him to sort of make a name for himself.
There's always potential.
And slot into that starting 11, but it just never seemed to happen. And for me, what really frustrates me, the sort of decisions that are being made at our club, is that you'll retain Scott Wright as a bench player and you'll send out Yanis Hadji on loan. For me, decisions like that just never made sense, especially when we're lacking that creative spark up top. We're lacking a player like Hadji, you know. So
I mean, that's a debate in itself, the whole Hadji debate, because I know that's polarising, like whether he was good enough to play at Rangers, whether he's no good enough, whether even Clement fancies him. I know for a fact
still develop him in some regard as 100%. Well. I definitely wouldn't fancy him playing in a Rangers team under Michael Beale, but there's no many players I would fancy playing in a Rangers team under Michael Beale.
That's the reason why he left, wasn't it? Like,
I would be pretty confident that if we bring back Yanis Hadji and let him be coached and managed by a manager the calibre of Philippe Clement, who's a good man manager. And again, we still don't really know how Clement's going to set up next season, what sort of what formation he's going to play, how he's going to play out for the back. Is he going to continue to play this sort of direct football that we've seen at times, or once he gets his players in the door, is the strategy, the tactics and the style of his team going to change completely? Is he going to play more narrow, or is he going to use the width? Obviously, we were sort of clutching at straws last season, using the likes of Silva and Scott Wright at times on the wings. Well, it'll be interesting to see how Clement sets up for the coming season. But definitely a player like Hadji under Clement, I mean, I'd be sad to see Hadji go, because I don't think we've never got the the fullness of Hadji.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
No.
at times Hadji has looked like a player, but again we always say it's that word potential. But under a decent manager, I think Hadji could do the business.
Aye, potentially. I mean, at least if he left, I think we'd get an alright fee from him. And the thing is, as well, Hadji's still young, so all we do know about Clement and the way what he wants the team to look like next season is young and hungry. That's all we know. That's all we've signed so far is young, hungry players.
Yeah.
With that word we hate, potential. And even the rumours that are pouring in just now is
Evening, Scott.
Aye, evening, Scott. Even the players that are pouring in the now, you don't really. A lot of the fan base are kind of worried in a sense. Well, we're hearing rumours that Tav's leaving, hearing rumours that Goldson's leaving. Obviously, I don't think MD apart from Butland, Sterling, Diamande, they kind of players are safe. You know what I mean? And I think there's a kind of mentality switch in terms of, well, if bids come in for certain players, regardless of how long they've been here, they're gone.
Yeah.
It's simple as that. And what we're doing to replace the players is almost. We're probably never going to see a player that's over the age of 26.
Well, the thing is, Rangers need to start making good decisions for the long term. We need to start broadening our outlook, and that's why you're gonna have a core of your team that's built up with this young potential that's coming in the door. So you got to weigh up the options between maybe more high risk transfers where you're bringing people in for foreign countries, for foreign leagues. But then what we've lacked in recent years is scouting young Scottish talent and going like, right, we know Barn has done it in this league for a number of seasons now. No, he's not the finished article by any means, but we know that he's got that ability to do it in this league. He's been doing it with another team in this league.
The thing is, what's the alternative? Like, because I know folk criticise the fact that Barn isn't the finished article, came from Aberdeen, but I would put to the fans, what's the alternative? Do we wait to Aberdeen want 5, 6, 7 million with a new contract on him? Do we wait to the likes of it was Dundee United, Motherwell? Do we wait to hits his peak and then wait to 3, 4 clubs for down south or abroad, like Italy are interested, and then we're paying a premium?
Exactly.
That's the alternative. So you're going to have to take a gamble on the really young Scottish players, and
especially when you're getting them for nothing when they're out of contract at their club. I've said for a while now, we need to be, when somebody's there, all you're going to need to do is pay their wages. Maybe there's some sort of compensation that you need to pay Aberdeen, I don't exactly know, but for me it's we need to do that. We need to do it. Like I said, I'll keep harping on this. He's done it in the league. We know what you know what you're going to get.
Well, look at the return.
Whereas some of these other players coming in, you don't know what they're going to get. And there's a percentage of these players that just won't make the adjustments to whether it's living in Scotland or playing in this league or playing under the pressure at Rangers. But I'm really hoping Barnes is sort of the attitude that I'm looking for in a player to bring into this club as well. And I'm hoping that he can come in there and even push people like Diamande and Raskin on, and they can all push each other. But we're going to, hopefully Raskin as well, mentioning his name, is a bit like a new signing this year again.
Keywords, hopefully.
Well, hopefully, I know.
Well, that Raskin was one of the players as well, when you can lump Cantwell in because they kind of come in at the same time, where we basically saw them for like a snapshot half of the season, towards the end of the season. They looked decent, they looked exciting, and then the new season started. And
the disappointing thing about Raskin is he walks in the door at the club and kind of makes this statement about it being maybe a stepping stone, and he's got higher ambitions, which, look, you want players in that have got the highest ambitions.
Why?
Rangers, as much as they are a massive club in terms of support and in terms of history,
You need to know. We need to know our place financially.
Exactly. We're no competing with the likes of Real Madrid when it comes to getting to the most. Well, I mean, we can get to the Europa League final, of course, but Champions League finals and then the big bucks down in England as well. So, but when you come in making these sort of statements and you have that ambition, you certainly need to back it up.
Aye, 100%.
And that was the disappointing thing about Raskin is. And actually, no just Raskin, I think it was a mentality issue with a number of the team at times. You would see them, they would do like maybe sprints. It's like sprints, maybe get a couple of games, they look a bit hungrier, and then the mentality would die away. And I think that's what cost us in the end up at the end of last season. We treated it as a few sprints. You would get consistency for maybe 3-4 games max, but they just were never in it for the long haul, and they could never uphold that consistency. I could maybe count in the one hand the number of games last year where we got 11 players who played to a high level.
And you can obviously argue that the players were seen, in terms of pressure, they were handcuffed for the start of the season because it was that bad a start.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Clement come in and obviously got the confidence up a wee bit, but I think there was players in there that still, they come on that park and almost beelified the game, if you get what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Like that kind of lack of drive, lack of desire, lack of hunger. And to be honest, that's where the whole Rangers support wanted the refresh. That's why they like say Lundstrom, Barisic came under like scrutiny throughout the season, because there's two things that Rangers fans want to see, and it's why the likes of Dessers is, even though it isn't like I would say he's no Rangers quality in terms of striker, but he's a lovable guy because you can see that hunger and desire. You can see that want to win regardless of his quality. Yeah. Like I don't like him as a Rangers striker, but as a guy, I'm like, if only you could put Defoe's finishing onto.
And he handles
Dessers' mentality, you know what I mean?
He handles himself well in the media, and he talks a good game as well. But I think that has been a problem for us as well recently, is that people are good at talking a good game. They're all press trained and they say the right things. But I mean, say all you want to the press and say all you want in the behind the scenes Rangers YouTube videos, but when it comes to your big games, when it comes to the old firms, when it comes to the final straight in the league, I mean, talking's useless. We need to see it on the park. And again, this is going to be a big test for a lot of these players in terms of, especially like you think about it, right? We've got Champions League qualification early in the season, and we're now not going to have the fortress of Ibrox to play. Obviously, I will take the fans and we'll sell it wherever it is the games are being played. But Ibrox, European nights, is something different.
We've got the potential, with no potential. We're no playing with Champions League qualifiers at Ibrox.
Yeah, and that's
mental.
I would say that's 99% sure, unless there's like some mad miracle
Well,
happens and this work comes ahead. But I'm sure they'll need to make early arrangements with UEFA to say this is where we're going to be playing our games. So even if there was some sort of miracle and they managed to get the works on the stadium complete, they'd have probably already arranged to have played at some other stadium. So it's a big concern, and it's definitely and again, it's, you're trying to focus on the manager, the players, them getting back to pre-season, and obviously the fixtures have been released with the first game away to Hearts, I'm sure, and then I think the fourth game's an Old Firm away at Parkhead. But you're trying to keep your focus on the players, who's coming in the door, who's going out the door, on the manager, looking forward to the new season, and then you're just handed a shit sandwich again, going like that. Probably won't play at Ibrox until September, and that's with everything going perfect up until then.
That we fucked up the start of last season, considering the fact the board gave Beale full control over 21 million quid.
Yeah,
the entire budget we had. Then we get past that, we fix that mistake. We're like, right, okay, we can push on for here, and then again you're slapped in the face for the start of the season.
Where is the most? what's most needed to change on the park this year for you? Any particular areas that you can think about, considering the whole of last season? Where does there need to be like a full 360,
The, sh-
180,
the strength and
270?
the
I'm
sh-
just saying numbers now.
the strength, depth, and quality of the midfield.
Yeah.
Because how many games have we watched this season where we've either drew, been beat, old firms, where we have game after game connected the dots and went, the midfield are non-existent,
Yeah.
completely non-existent, and it's been a lot. And listen, Diamande's come in and he's injected a wee bit of energy. Sterling moved into that midfield and come out of position, went into midfield, and was the best player in that position, which says a lot. Like,
That's an interesting one going into the next season as well. I mean, what happens with Sterling?
he fucking play him in goals.
If Tav stays, obviously Tav keeps that right back position. So we simply need to find a consistent position for Sterling to play.
100%, and that's not to say that Sterling will not play in any position to a high quality, and he'll be fine with that. And
No, we know he can do that, but
we know
surely if you
it's
want to
going to be.
develop him even more, you need to find him a position, let him play there for the duration of the season. I mean, the
100%.
guy was playing, he played every position bar goalkeeper, I think, last year. So we and he was one of our best players, let's be honest, one of our
100%.
most consistent players. So when you've got a player like that, it'll almost be like a new signing if we can just find him. If we can find a solid position for him and just keep him there and then start building around him, because you know that you're going to get decent quality of him week in, week out.
Aye. How you doing, James? Aye. But
midfield for you is definitely
midfield for
key.
me is 100% key. And let's be honest, having the flexibility of Sterling to go in there as well, if we need to inject a bit of pace in it, which we hope we don't, because we hope we'll have that young, hungry midfield.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it's hard to pinpoint one part of the team, because every single position has had a flaw. We've had a flaw like being attacked on Tav and Goldson's side, in between them, Boz in behind them. Obviously, Tav's away up the park, and we've no get that. Again, down to the midfield, down to the fact the mistakes Connor Goldson throughout the season, where we're getting caught out down that side so many times. We also had a lack of depth on the other side, because obviously Barisic, he's away now, but he was pretty much an empty jersey on that left hand side.
Almost looked disinterested at times, Barisic.
Yilmaz gets injured, no depth, end up Sterling at left back. We've got obviously the centre back, who with no real quality depth up top, was a complete and utter shambles for the full season. We had no striker who could finish. Danilo was injured. We didn't get Shankland in the door in January. The two wingers were
It's an interesting one as well, because obviously Dessers, what did he finish the season with, like 18 goals or so?
16, 17, I think.
There or thereabouts. So obviously he's got decent numbers. No, I mean, but
the problem is
the problem was the amount of good chances that he squandered, and obviously Desser's been paying attention to the fan criticism, because there was a video at the end of last season, or maybe it was once the season had finished, talking about basically that he was addressing the criticism, and he made a decent point, saying when you get into that position, you'll get more chances, which obviously the more chances you get, the more chances you're going to miss. It's just that's how the stats are going to work out. But I don't think obviously he's going to defend himself, but it was the nature of the chances that he was getting at times.
Well, the thing is, you could
and missing. Because I completely agree with what he said in his defence of himself. Off the ball, and his movement to find that space is good. So with Dessers, honestly, it was so up and down with Dessers last year. It was like a roller coaster.
The thing is
at
about
times
Dessers,
I was like, get him to fuck.
Aye.
But then at times you're like, wait, there might be a player in there.
But look at I would look at the context behind the goals, and I don't want to come across as too negative towards Dessers, because I quite like him as a guy, right?
Yeah. That's completely fair.
So the context in the goals, I would take a player who would probably score slightly less goals, but scores important goals in big games where, you know what I mean, in Europe,
Yeah.
against Celtic, I'd take a player that can put away the big chances, or a player that can go to Ross County, Motherwell, and nick
Sprinkle in
goals here
goals
and
throughout
sprinkle
this.
goals here
But
and
that's
there, and
what we've been missing majorly, is that
a big game striker,
big game players, mate.
big game
All over
players
the
in general.
park.
Aye.
How many? I mean, we went through the whole of last season not winning an Old Firm. So if that doesn't tell you that you've got a complete lack of big game players, then nothing will. It's never. I don't remember my life as a Rangers fan ever being so clear and evident that our team is full of just weak. I want to say weak. It's also quality as well, but there's also a mentality issue.
I think the better word's just stale.
I mean, complete lack of. Because at times you can see that they did play well, so you know they've got a certain ceiling when it comes to their quality, but then they would crumble in the Old Firms.
Aye,
I mean, look at
100%.
even talking about the Old Firm in the Cup final at the end of the year. That's probably the best showing that we've made of ourselves in an Old Firm all season.
Aye.
But still, we could have probably played on for another 90 minutes and wouldn't have scored, and obviously we're going to lose a goal late on. And that's, I don't know, mate. It's just, it becomes unsufferable.
Aye.
When you go into these Old Firm games with zero confidence. There was times last year, coming up to the last couple of Old Firms, where we were like, you're just resigned to the fact that you're not winning it.
Aye, I know.
Because there's nobody in that team that fills you with confidence going into these games.
Yep.
Whereas they've got players that will rise to the occasion when it comes to the big Old Firm games.
Aye. They
We
always
get
kinda
players
have
that
hope.
go hiding.
Just want to look at the chat there. I've seen a good few coming in. So Dessler's out, Seaman, that'd be decent. You make no sense. Billy says you make no sense. He did score big goals. I know, but my point isn't that he didn't score goals in some moments where we needed it. My point is he could have scored a lot more goals. That's my point. Like, the chances that he missed outweigh for me the goals that he scored, and that's not me taking it away, because 16 goals in a season is pretty decent, but it was the chances he missed for me. Frankie says, so do you think these young boys are big game players? They might be one day. That's the thing about bringing in young boys. You
It's hard to
hopefully
tell.
develop them into big game players. You know what I mean?
We don't
spoke
know much
that
about
earlier.
them, and what sort of big games have they played in the past. You know what I mean? Because
Well,
I can
that's the
guarantee
nature
you
of-
none of them will be as big as the Old Firm games.
Aye.
So we just simply don't know. We'll start to gauge that when it comes to start to look at their quality and how they're going to play when it comes to the pre-season games. But ultimately, you're only going to know when we kick off the season. Like, it's really hard to tell. Even with the likes of Barron, who you've seen playing with Aberdeen, probably had multiple good performances versus Celtic and versus Rangers and in the big games for Aberdeen. But it's a completely different scenario when you pull on the blue jersey in front of 50,000 at Ibrox in an Old Firm game. When take Barron for instance. Barnes never involved in a game with Aberdeen that could be a title decider. But coming to Rangers, and these players coming to Rangers are going to be involved in probably at least 4 title deciders throughout the season at the Old Firms.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? These games that can define your season.
That's the thing about young players, but that's the nature of the game, because you bring in players like that who, I mean, they're not a blank canvas, but you know what I mean, like fresh in the door, they're young, they've got a lot to learn. Like, your objective is to turn them into big game players.
Aye.
You know what I mean? A young boy coming in the door, you can't point to him and say he's a big game player, but until the big games come,
Exactly.
and that's where you can tell.
I hope the people that they're bringing in, and I really hope that they're getting it right behind the scenes in terms of judging I want players to come here and feel the pressure, feel it completely, and know how important these big games are, but also knowing how important every game is ultimately, when there's not going to be a lot separates the two top teams at the end of the season. But I want players who are going to come and, like I say, feel the pressure but be fearless as well. Do you know what I mean? We've had too many players for last season and seasons prior just been far too comfortable to just show up, more or less. You know what I mean? Pulling the strap, it's just a formality, really. nobody to take the game in the scruff of the neck, nobody to puff the chest out, nobody to just try and change the game even when their back's against the wall. I don't know, man. It's just there's a sour taste in my mouth with in terms of how our players have approached just games in general, especially over the last season.
Aye, definitely. So we've got 1888. Are used to brothers? No, we are not. Oasis taking chances. Board need cash. Frankie says, I don't need to wait. These young boys ain't big game players. If they were, they wouldn't have been let go. I mean, I wouldn't say they were let go. We bought them, but young boys can never be big game players. And talk about it, to be fair, because
I actually don't. I disagree. I mean, I think anybody can be a big game player.
Right,
Of course, they can. I mean, you'll need to wait and judge that when they play
when
the
the
big
time
game.
comes,
Do you know what I mean? We can ask me if Cantwell's a big game player. For what I've seen to him, no, but most of our team at this moment in time, I would say, are no big game players. So with the new recruits in the door, you're only going to be able to judge that once they've had a few big games. You know what I mean?
Aye.
Then you can judge whether they're big game players or not. Obviously, you wouldn't expect them to be, I mean, super composed in the big game. They're got to feel the pressure. It's going to be different, but some of them will rise to it. I mean, hopefully more of them will rise to it than will fall away and be. But that's where you need to balance it out as well with experience, and why you need to keep some experience in the club and also recruit experience as well for other clubs.
And well, talking of recruitment, we can move on to that, because again we've been linked to quite a few names now. The Kabadai and the
Igma, how is it to pronounce that? Igman or something like that.
Igman, or aye, however you pronounce his name. So they're two that have been heavily linked, have apparently had talks.
It seems
again,
like a couple of them are, the announcements are imminent.
Aye, there's a couple that are imminent, and obviously there's rumours flying left, right and centre, and I know for it,
the Kenny McLean rumour appeared again.
I know, I've seen so many folk. I don't know about that one, to be honest. Kenny McLean, I mean, he's got 2 years left in his contract for a start.
Aye, I mean,
and I'm not paying anything excessive for Kenny McLean.
No, we've already kind of said our piece on Kenny McLean as well, but what's everybody else's thoughts? I mean, where do you guys think we need to strengthen first and foremost? Obviously, we've already got some new faces in the building. Obviously, that's the boys back to training as well. So, in a blink of an eye, we'll be kicking off that first pre-season game. So, for yous, where is it that you feel like we still need to strengthen? Obviously, we know we need to bring in probably another 4 players, I would imagine. But I suppose it's going to be dependent on what happens with the likes of Tavernier, Goldson, right? I mean, there's still a lot of players in the building who I would expect to be gone by the end of the transfer window, to be honest.
Aye. I mean, we've got James asking any news about a striker. Steph says Igman looks decent. Well, the only news we've got really we've seen is Igman so far. Obviously, what was the other boy, that Romani?
Another thing as well, let me just say this as well, right? See if we do the right thing during pre-season in terms of getting our players fit and then keeping them fit throughout the season. It'll almost like we'll have 9 new additions to the squad.
Well, that's true, I know.
And that's not even counting the folk that are going to come in, because the amount of injuries we had last season, there was times where you had almost like a full 11 out injured.
We did. So, we literally had 11 out injured one time.
I know. So clearly, for the upcoming season, they're going to need to do things differently. There was, I don't think that was like a sort of just a string of bad luck or a coincidence. There was some injuries that were unavoidable, but for me to have that amount of players out injured,
something was going wrong behind the scenes.
Aye, and it could only really be in the off season. Potentially throughout the season, how they're training and keeping themselves fit. but there's something definitely no sitting right with me when it comes to the amount of injuries we've compiled over the last like probably 2-3 seasons maybe.
Aye. Well, the thing is, I think because you heard Clement at the end of last season saying, kind of coming out and basically saying he knows what went wrong and they've changed it basically. Or what is it? He said it's something like, "Oh, we wish we didn't wait to the end of the season to change it." It was kind of a hint to we know where the issues are coming from, aiming towards the kind of injuries and like pointed. I mean, we all knew it had to be changed anyway because any club with 11 players out injured, something's gone catastrophically wrong
Yeah.
in the medical department. But and the thing is as well, like we looked at that and thought, right, well, we're gonna have to. We need a squad overhaul, but at the same time, we need to remember that we've still got a fairly decent sized squad as well, and a lot of players are going to need moved on to accommodate for the new players.
Yeah.
And we can't just get rid of all the injury prone players because as soon as a player becomes injury prone or he's out for a decent amount of the season, like either the value goes down or because there's nobody out there that want to take the risk.
The good thing about Clement as well is that you know if there's any young academy prospects that he's not going to be shy about giving them an opportunity.
Well, exactly.
Obviously, he was kind of forced into it with McCausland last year, but again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I was pleased with how McCausland done.
We've got Fraser there that's just got a new contract.
I was going to say
well.
that,
Munn,
obviously,
who's just got a new contract.
So you've got that as well, and it's another thing that we need to be doing better. Obviously, is developing the players for the academy, bringing them through, giving them game time. Obviously, it's going to be sparingly unless they're desperately needed. But we need to start having breakthroughs for the academy 100%. Into the first team, building these young players up, and then it means we're not relying completely on basically signing for overseas or signing even for the Scottish leagues, but just no bringing in people for externally.
Well, the thing is as well, like
through the academy, that's what the academy's there for. I mean, look, we've just brought up Liam Kelly through the academy, played by Rangers, sent him out, now we're buying him back.
I think the thing is it's a Scottish wide problem when it comes to academies, and that was some of the debate when the Euros finished. Because again, it's you look at Britain overall, and the way that these players are being coached now is almost it's just this kind of robotic style of football. And our academy as well, we can only speak for experience for our academy, but how many players, what's the ratio of players that make it to first team compared to those who make it through the academy, get to the end just before they get to first team, and then they get told, sorry, you're not good enough for the first team, we're going to need to move you on. It's a ridiculous amount.
Single figures in terms of percentages, I would imagine. They might make it to the bench, to bulk up the bench, but there's in terms of minutes played, very, very minuscule.
So we've got a few comments in there. We've got, see you two guys, at least you tell the truth. Well, we try to. Still think it'll take a few windows for Clement. It's definitely going to take more than one anyway. New number 10. That's an interesting topic. I know you would probably prefer a new number 10. There's absolutely 100% something no right with the amount of injuries, what is going on behind the scenes with the medical department. Glad Cortez signed again. We've got Cortez there, another young player. He was a player. Definitely, as we said, something went catastrophically wrong, or has been going wrong for a certain period of time. It's just kind of came to a head.
Then you've got Tavernier and Goldson there that never get injured at all. Do you know what I mean? And they've been part of the club for years now. So it's just it can't be an individual. It has to be systemic behind the scenes. But it'd be interesting to know what changes are being made this year to sort of prevent it. Obviously, there's coming togethers on the park. There's collisions that you simply can't help or do anything about to prevent injuries when it's on the park.
More sensitive
Nah, all without
Take
a
all of
doubt.
these situations, like,
And you simply can't, like Clement said, he come in the door, he says it's the league is a marathon. Well, you need to keep players fit for the marathon, you need to keep depth, you need to keep your best players fit, and you can't be left using Sterling in multiple different positions because you simply need somebody to fill the role.
aye,
I mean, you're never going to win the league when you're doing that.
no,
It's impossible. You need to have your best 11 out there, and that's what I need to see for Clement this season is a consistent starting 11.
aye,
Obviously, modern football, there's going to be rotations, and you've got 5 subs to use. You're going to use your subs, but there needs to be at least the bulk of the team that's
you know who's starting.
week in, week out.
Aye, that's the thing about last season compared to this one. Last season, you couldn't. You'd have Goldson, Butland, you knew was starting. That's it. The rest of the team constantly get rotated. And obviously, we've never really, I don't think, over the past couple of years.
Until we were handcuffed to the point where you kind of knew who was getting started because
Aye.
everybody else was out injured.
Aye, definitely. And when Morelos and Kent was there, you knew they two were starting. But talking about wingers as well, we'll go over a couple. We'll go over some of the rumours, and I'll emphasise the word rumours. Like, these are reports from players that are like reports for the countries that these players are currently playing in. So may be true, may not be true. But we like to discuss them anyway. So the latest one, Ibrox chat over on X posted Moroccan sources have reported Rangers are chasing. I need to get
Good luck with us.
Kuhib Druich.
Something like that.
The winger has been linked with several clubs this summer, but 360 Sports state the Moroccan international has received 2 concrete offers, one from Rangers and the other one from Lens. The 22-year-old has played 33 games this season, scoring 8 goals and providing as many assists. Now, that's a big topic for fans as well as the wingers.
We simply just we've been linked with wingers, and we've brought in Cortez, who's going to be a winger. Probably Clement obviously sees something in him. He's keeping him on there, extending that, and then with the obligation to buy him in the following year. But we need that strong presence on the wings. I thought when we had the likes of, I thought when Sima was fit and he was you see the difference when your team has got width, when your teams go 2 wingers on the park that can run at the opposition, help you break, help you press. Another thing we're going to need to do better in the coming season is really be aggressive in that press, defend for the front. I mean, going back to just talking about the difference Scotland made in terms of the Germany game, the Switzerland game, you see the difference it makes when you press a team high up the park and start your defensive duties for your front three. Do you know what I mean? Teams don't like it when you get in their faces, and too often, especially against Celtic last year, we come up against them and sat off them. That's because of personnel, because of fitness.
I know,
but
and
it
as
simply
well, we
can't
struggled
happen
with
this
that
year.
width as well, because I don't think we had any wingers that had the bravery to take somebody on one. We didn't. Like, the amount of,
Very little.
and the thing is, see, when you're a winger, right? Now, I'm no coach, I've no played to a high level, but a big part of that, and that's what made Kent so lovable in his prime at Rangers, was the fact that Kent had the bravery and most of the time could take MD on down that wing and create something out of nothing.
A good winger's like a get out of jail free card. I mean, I'm thinking back to when Ryan Kent was flying and Rangers were playing incredibly good counter-attacking football in Europe. I'm thinking back to like the Dortmund game and stuff like that, where they're up in our box. All of a sudden, we've broke. You feed the ball to Kent, the guy will run the length of the pitch and just completely change the phase of play. Do you know what I mean? All of us, one moment you're pinned back, the next minute you're up in their final third. You need a winger that can carry the ball, that can run at teams, that, like I say,
Seema's good at that as well.
Seema's
Well,
unbelievable.
the thing is, I just clocked in the chat as
One-
well. Like, do you think outgoings could fund the Seema move? But the thing about Seema is, are we going to be completely? In my opinion, I think we're going to be completely priced out.
And the thing about you go to, does Seema want to stay at Rangers as well? We don't know.
We don't know. There's no lot.
I mean, it looked like he enjoyed his time, but obviously he's doing in the Premier League at a club in the Premier League at the moment.
He is still here. I think he's still training here. But again, in terms of taking him on a permanent, I don't see us paying the money.
Depends how much the Saudi clubs are going to pay for Tavernier
Captaincy. It depends as
if
well.
If he gives a wee back corner for them, then hopefully we could fund the. I mean, Cortez one wing, Seaman the other would. That would fill me with some more confidence and a bit
with
of
some
optimism
backup as well, with the likes of younger players like the one we just described as well. But again, we know the thing about Seema is we know nothing about anything. In terms of Seema, again, you says, does he want to stay?
Silence ultimately.
What is it going to take to actually buy him?
Yeah,
in terms of financially, like how much resources do we need to put in?
Do you know what else I seen? So regarding the whole Ibrox isn't going to be ready, and we're going to need to basically rent Murrayfield. 700k a pop, £700,000 a game is what we're going to need to pay. I read an article.
Well, because we'll need to. I think Murrayfield's got like VAR in like that, so you're going to need to pay for that to get installed. You're going to need to pay for it to get removed, rent the place in general. It's a huge venue.
Aye. And
I've no doubt
it's a huge occasion when Rangers play anywhere. Aye. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing is, like,
there's a lot of security, policing, like you say, all the VAR stuff, all the stuff that you don't, all the logistical stuff that you don't really think about because you're just like, Ibrox, it's all just set up, it's supposed to run smoothly, boom, something like this happens. And
what's the most annoying thing is
it's going to be very costly for us.
We've then got to count in attendance to almost make that profitable, if it can be profitable. That's the big headache about it, to be honest. That's why fans are so annoyed about the fact that it's no finished, is how much a complete and utter headache it's going to be to manage. But listen, it's another thing we could add to the list of what this board has.
Absolute annoyances.
Aye.
Just you've not even get down to the first pre-season game and we're already fucking going on about these off the field scenarios that are just, we just don't need them. Do you know what I mean? It's just a complete pain in the arse for us. I'm pretty sure the manager is furious.
It will be.
And I'm pretty sure the players as well. I mean, think about these new recruits who are supposed to be coming in and getting the feeling of playing at Ibrox, and then like it's going to be put on a delay as well.
I know.
Just a bit frustrating.
I know.
For everybody involved with the club, and especially the fans who are expecting more and expecting big things this season. It's endlessly frustrating. I mean, hopefully the club comes out and lets fans know sooner rather than later exactly what's happening with this scenario. I suppose once we know what's happening with it, look, if we can't play at Ibrox, we can't play at Ibrox. There's nothing we can do about it. So, but we need to get feedback for the club in terms of what's happening, what's the time scale, when are we going to be allowed to play at Ibrox again, when's it going to be ready, when's it going to be finished, and then we can put it to bed, no talk about it, and ultimately deal with the
situation on the park.
Aye, because that's obviously the most important thing.
Bothad says, hang on, I didn't know there was a podcast here. Yes, I'm an amateur. So is it confirmed yet Tav is going? Kinda dodgy they announced he's lost captaincy. Well, we spoke about that at the start of the video, so the article basically didn't confirm.
It was a bit shithousery, that scenario.
That Daily Record was a bit shithousery, to be honest, and I went with the story that was there, and then the Daily Record shifted the goalposts after I posted the video, and many others. It wasn't just me, many others. So the whole thing is, if Tavernier leaves Rangers, Butland will be captain. That's not me saying that now there's a less likely chance Tav will leave Rangers. He might know. who knows? We've not got a clue. It's just
See, at the end of
reports,
the
it's
day,
speculation.
see at the end of the day, it's like, see if they are no like sure on there's some sort. Basically, they're no sure on Tavs. Basically, halfway out the door.
No.
What an absolute shite story, by the way.
Aye.
Like, it's complete clickbait, and
Aye.
let's be fair, we get dragged into it. So did most of Rangers Twitter, so it's hard not to get dragged into it. But this is just what. It's a weird one. It's
Well, the
like,
thing
what
is-
a pointless story if there's no some sort of truth to it.
Exactly. So the two options are either it was completely fabricated story, completely, or there's enough of a chance a Tavernier leaving Ibrox that they had to somebody leaked the fact that I would have discussed this in Butland. Who would
But implicit in that as well is that there must be some uncertainty regarding Goldson as well. Because surely if Tav was to leave, then the captaincy drops to the vice captain. Surely,
Aye. Well,
that's how
exactly.
it works. So they're not going off of that, which means, do we think if Tav goes, Goldson goes with him? Do we think it's that sort of scenario?
See, the thing is, the thing about Goldson is that even the rumours have kind of died down, like the talks kind of died down, and when we say talks kind of died down, like the Tav story can like develops. You can kind of gauge how much potential's in a story, but just simply how much folk are talking about it. But like,
But then
in
again,
terms
that sort of
Goldson-
gives me the vibe that there's perhaps nothing to Tav leaving, and it's not going to happen. And it's all this has been driven simply by fans wanting him out the door. And I
I mean,
felt that
potentially.
since the season ended.
And
like,
listen, there's every single chance that the papers are playing in that. Like 100% of the current state of mainstream media, there's 100%.
or they're just getting caught up in the fact that Rangers fans are constantly calling for Tav to leave. He's simply no achieved enough. He's just no been what you would expect for a Rangers captain, I don't think. And we've got a lot of goal contributions, assists, free kick. Look, Tav's got his positives, obviously. I just think he's coming to that point in his Rangers career where he just needs to go, let somebody else replace him.
At
It's
the
not even
end of the
about
day,
captaincy,
no.
honestly. Captaincy is literally the furthest thing from my mind. It means nothing on the pitch.
At the end of the day, when in the Tav debate, it always comes down to one thing, and that's the amount of silverware. That's it.
Well, two things I would say: the amount of silverware and can he actually defend? He's a defender.
Well,
And you ask most Rangers fans whether Tav can defend, and their answer is going to be
no.
no.
Aye. The thing
It's
is, as
the
well,
weakest part of his game.
aye. You can only judge a successful captain, in my opinion, on like aside for the defensive stuff, but you can only judge. I said this in the last video. You can only judge how successful a Rangers captain is by the amount of trophies he lifts.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I mean,
And when you captain a team through a season where they don't win one Old Firm game, then I mean, people are going to be asking the questions. And ultimately, like I say, I really don't feel like it means, no that it doesn't mean that much, but it doesn't influence play on the park in terms of who your captain is. No, I would want a captain that's on there, that's demanding, that's filled me with confidence, honestly. And at times Tav certainly doesn't do that. And I know he's got a spectacular free kick on him, etc., etc. He can score a penalty. Aye, but there's I don't know. There's something that the Rangers fans aren't accepting, and it's like you say, the lack of lifting league titles.
there just feels like there's something missing.
Aye.
And that's all I can put it into.
And the captain, you get that armband, you've got to take a lot of the fans' animosity, ultimately. That's all that captain armband's for, is like, who's the first player that we're going to point our frustrations towards? It's going to be the captain.
Aye.
You sign yourself up for that. It's a privilege. If you do well, then you flourish, the fans love you. But if you go through a season where you don't win an Old Firm game and barely compete, and most of them, well, you're going to get the brunt of the fans'
100%.
opinions, and I'll tell you what, you deserve it.
Aye, 100%.
Because you simply need to be better. You need to be better, or you need to go.
And
For
the
me,
thing about it is,
Cav's not a developing player. He's not a player with potential. If we start
he's an
him
experienced. He's nearing
if we start him
veteran
right back
status.
next season, mate, we know what we're going to get.
Aye, I know.
Simple as that.
Aye.
So for me, Tav's time's up, and I don't want it to drag on any longer.
It's
because you don't want it to turn from a distaste to a resentment, to be honest.
Aye.
And like I said, if Goldson and Tav start next to each other next season, and we got off to a bad start, by the way,
it'll be toxic.
Very
it will
quickly.
be toxic. When you think of Tav apologising for performances and saying they will learn from it, more than the trophy, kind of sums it up. It does. We need an actual Rangers supporting captain, a true born bear. I mean, listen.
I mean, I think there's something to that as well. But even if you're no brought up, born and bred a Rangers fan or whatever it might be, you can still take that on when you come and you play in front of Rangers fans. When you get cemented into this club, you can take on what it means to be a Rangers player, a Rangers captain, a Rangers fan. There's many players who have came here throughout the years who have not been born and bred Rangers fans, but when they leave the building, there's one thing for sure, is that they might never play at a club like Rangers again.
Yep.
But like one of the commenters said, when you've got a compilation of Tav just saying disappointing, when you become a meme, for me it's too much. And that's the state of modern football. I mean, if you come out, let's say like half your post-match interviews and the first word out your mouth's disappointing, well, something's gone wrong.
No, 100%.
And what, do we just accept it? Do we just accept that's where we are? It looks like at this moment in time we have been.
Well, you can kind of see how it infected the rest of the squad, like kind of coming the end of the season.
And we were talking about, actually, on one of the previous podcasts or videos, you become accustomed to that. You become accustomed to no lifting league titles. You become accustomed to finishing second place. You become accustomed to getting ran over in the Old Firm games. And I think really that came to a peak last year. There's a point to think that we never touched them in the Old Firm games throughout the season, and we were still very close to winning the league at one point. Do you know what I mean? When we were coming to the final straight, to think we've barely laid a glove on them and we've no won an Old Firm all season. For us to even be in contention of winning that league is unprecedented.
Aye.
I mean, it just shows you how bad they were as well.
Aye. Well,
do you know what I mean?
But the thing
for
is,
us, it's
mental.
It's a bad mentality. You got to get shot at ultimately.
Steph said, "Does Tav know you a testimonial?" I think he is. Yes, isn't he? I think
honestly, it feels like it anyway. But how long do you let this carry on? Do you know what I mean? Do we do it for? Do you want to finish another season as Rangers captain, finishing as a runner-up, finishing with one trophy, one League Cup?
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Is that really what we've become? Well, something's got to change majorly, and it's all on Clement and these incoming prospects to sort of to live up to what we expect from them. And look, compete, do your best, win the Old Firm games. But first and foremost, you got to compete in them. To have any chance of winning them, you got to compete in them. And far too often, I would say man for man throughout the park, there was players losing battle. They're not even involved in the battles in the Old Firm games. Never mind losing them. They were losing them de facto by fucking showing up and being put into starting 11. Do you know what I mean? Players like Cantwell, who repeatedly just no show up in the Old Firm games, and I am getting caught up in the Old Firm games because they're our biggest games of the season, and leagues will be won and lost on them, and also. It's just you don't get a bigger game than that. You're probably going to play them in the Scottish Cup final, the League Cup final.
That's the thing. Like, you can kind of tell that the team had an underdog mentality.
Without a doubt.
Because look at what we continued today in Europe. Look at what happened when we were chasing. when all hope was lost. Like, this team seemed to do its best when all hope is lost. When we draw against Borussia Dortmund, we're going all hope's lost. 9 points behind at the start of the season.
Which shows you
all
they can't
hope's
deal with the
lost.
pressure of being favourites. Or they can't deal with that pressure and expectation. When we take all our expectations off them against Dortmund, they go out and they're flying.
Aye.
But when we expect them to show up in an Old Firm game at Ibrox, they collapse. So again, I've said it for the get-go that it's both quality and mentality, and both of them need radical transformations going into this new season. I simply can't deal with another season of what ifs and we could have done better, and this player never showed up and that player never showed up. Remember, at times last season, there was a whole 45 minutes of the first half that we never kicked the ball until they've went in at half time, and Clement's clearly gave them a rollick and said something
throughout the full season that we couldn't put two halves of football together.
How can these players expect that they're going to get away with that?
No, you can't.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, we went through a period, like a solid period of games where we didn't play until we went 2-0 down.
I know, it's fucking madness.
2-0 down, and then we'd start playing. Next game, 2-0 down, then we'd start playing.
But that's where the mentality, because when you're 2-0 down, nobody expects anything for you.
Aye, well.
Do you know what I mean? You kind of reside to the fact that you've lost the game at 2-0 down.
Aye.
But that's when these players came to life. But for me, it just sucks watching it as a fan. Do you know what 100%. I mean? You're waiting to go 2-0 down until your team comes to life. I honestly cannot remember the last time Rangers came out the traps for the first kick of the ball and just played a really decent game all the way through. No. You sat through 90 minutes and went, that was a great performance.
Aye.
Or very seldomly.
I can't even mind the last time.
But we can't keep taking half an hour or 45 minutes before we show up. And that has got to be a mentality issue. What are these players going into games expecting? Are they going into some games terrified in terms of coming up against Celtic? Are they going into some games complacent, coming up against the lower level teams in the league?
Dundee, aye.
Do you know what I mean? We are taking it for granted almost. That's two games that cost us a season last year as well, with Ross County and Dundee. Well, away to Dundee on a Wednesday, you better show up with the right attitude.
Well, the thing is, it seems to be that, I mean, if you get a window where everybody you bring in is a youngster and almost you get that vibe that nobody's really safe, and you get, you know, Clement almost kind of admitting changes need to be made, you know you're going to get a complete overhaul. But the thing is as well, like in terms of, I mean, we can do this as well, in terms of outgoings, there's players in that squad who we would like to see go, but due to injuries can't let them go. But there's also players in there that I don't even know who would take them. And that's the thing. The squad has been left to run stale to the point where there's where
you're either letting people go in a free transfer because their contract's expired, or you're keeping players so long that nobody even wants to touch them.
Well, the thing is, the players are on that higher wage as well. So even if somebody come in with a bid like 500k for a fringe player, and then they realise, oh wait, their yearly wages actually eclipse their who's going to take that? You know what I mean? Why would no club would touch them? They just wait the 1 year, 2 year until the contract expires and then chip in with a lower offer. And that's the thing as well. That's mainly the problem where you miss the mark in terms of transfers. It's been savvy enough to know when to sell. That if you want to do a player trading model, you need to be savvy enough to know when to sell. And with the likes of Morelos, with the likes of Kent, you miss the mark, and it's catastrophic.
It's been a shit show, to be honest.
I mean,
and we expect this year for it to be better. Obviously, you're thinking more long term, but then you're just immediately hit with that dread when it comes down to this whole Ibrox fiasco, and you think, fuck man, I really have no confidence in how my club's been run at all.
Aye. Well,
do you know what I mean? And that is the problem, because it's not just on the park.
It's half
it's
as well.
off the park that bleeds onto the park,
Well, it
unfortunately.
will. If you've got chaos behind the scenes, it's got to be chaos in the pitch.
And that's
You know
what
what I
we've
mean?
seen
And
over
then
the last couple of years.
um,
And we know for a fact we're guaranteed it at the start of this season.
aye,
Do you know what I mean? But it's guaranteed, so you're going to start for a deficit in some sort. Like, you're no points deficit, but just to have that absolute fuckery, not being able to play like a handful of your first home games at Ibrox is, look, it might not affect us at all, but it's a variable that's been thrown at us that shouldn't be a variable that's been thrown at us.
I mean, it's you'd like to hope that it doesn't affect us, but I mean, everybody could admit like no playing your home games at home at the start of the season
And whether it even
will be a
affects us
disadvantage.
from a points standpoint, maybe we'll play at Murrayfield, we'll win 3 or 4 games, however many games we need to play at Murrayfield as a temporary home. Maybe we'll take maximum points. You never know.
The thing is, as well,
ultimately, it's frustrating for the fans.
100%,
and it's embarrassing into the bargain.
We don't even know how long we're going to be away from Ibrox.
That's what I mean.
The issue.
Well, I'm saying they're hoping to get it up and running for us to be back by September. Obviously, the league kicks off in August. But again, it should have been done before then. So what if something else goes wrong? And then you're talking, who knows?
Aye, we've got a couple of comments in there as well. Our biggest mistake was allowing Morelos and Kent to see out their contracts. Absolute disgrace, 100%. Didn't Tav admit that in the programme notes a while ago? Don't think he ever got over that, and it stayed as their general mentality. Why are highly paid players being considered for testimonials? It's a throwback to a time when a footballer earned a wee bit more than a tradesman. I mean, testimonials are, what, is it 10 year at the club? A testimonial?
Aye, I think so.
Aye. But I only get into Morelos' point as well. That's what we were talking about. You can't miss the mark with that kind of stuff. And the thing is, as well, it's promising to see these younger players coming in, providing that when they do hit their peak form and when they do develop, or they are in a place where we want them to be, as annoying as it is for fans, we're going to have to let them go. They're going to hit the point that we're like,
Definitely.
brilliant, he's literally the finished article.
Yep.
And we, obviously, as fans, we're going to turn around and say,
we want to keep
we
him.
want to keep him.
No.
But we need to let them go.
Well, I'll tell you,
100%.
and it becomes exponentially more pivotal that you get that right if you're not qualifying for the Champions League. Because you're going to lose millions upon millions every year you do not qualify for the Champions League. So if you're not doing good business in terms of bringing players out in and selling them on for a decent profit, you're moulding them into players that can win leagues, that can breed success in the club and build that mentality, that team, that going forward for the long haul, because we cannot keep looking at it. Looking at our club for season to season. Do you know what I mean? That's what's got us in this position ultimately, is that we've not been broad enough in terms of our outlook. Aye, it's crucial that we win this next league title. That is crucial, but it's also crucial that you bring in the right personnel, build them up, develop them, sell them. You're talking, the people behind the scenes need to be looking 3-4 seasons in advance. But I'm asking them to do that, and they can't make my stadium playable for the first game of the season. So, fuck knows, putting that responsibility in their hands to look a bit further down the line when it comes to building up players and selling them on.
Aye, the thing is, what makes, when we talk about the Champions League there, what makes the Champions League obviously is the fact that you get crazy cash for even playing in it. But as a selling club, what better shop window to have your players in than the Champions League?
Yeah.
The main stage, the main European stage. If you've got players in there that are showing promise, showing potential, putting in good performances on that stage against the best teams in Europe, even doing a job, you might not win, but players could do a job in there. There's not a better shot window, and you'll get players, you'll get clubs who I might try to lowball us, but will probably end up, for us anyway, paying a premium because clubs seen that they can perform at a decent standard in the Champions League. That's why the Champions League is so essential for us.
And let's be honest, a good selling price for the sort of players that we'll be bringing through the club, developing, selling on, is pocket change to these big clubs who are
Aye.
looking to recruit. Do you know what I mean? Especially if they're looking at the Scottish League, where they know the market's very, very undervalued.
That's what Borvad says. Wasn't the last young player we sold properly after developing them and getting proper fee? Was it Patterson? Will it have been Patterson? That's these
Bassey as well.
Patterson, Bassey are two players that were sold at the right time. I know we were gutted seeing Bassey go. Patterson coming through the academy. And letting them, but that's what the academy's for. When you've got an academy for a selling club, you bring them through, you give them first time football, and you've
Yep.
basically 100% profit.
Yeah, but one player in like what 5 years coming through your academy into your first team and being
Shocking.
sold on basically says your academy's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Because if you're only getting one player out of the numerous amount of players that come through that academy, you're only selling maybe one player through the academy. Because remember, Bassey didn't come through the academy either, do you
No.
know? So you're talking Patterson come through the academy, get into the first team, played well, get sold on, but that's it. So once every 4 or 5 years is not got to cut it. Like I say, especially when you lose it in the Champions League money year on year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And it's only going to become more devastating to lose it in that Champions League, considering that you get, I'm sure, 2 extra games
Mm-hmm.
in the upcoming new format. Do you know
Aye.
what I mean?
That's what makes
You're
it
going to get
even
more
better.
exposure against bigger clubs as well, because the whole format is changing. So instead of playing, what is it? It would have been 3 other teams twice. You're going to play what, 4 or 5 other teams twice.
I know. I think because I'm sure is it no? They just
Or do
give
you just play
8 games.
That's right. Aye,
One
that's how
against
it's.
the other.
Aye.
And
So
you'll
there's
get
no
home away, home away,
That's
home
right.
away.
That's
And
right.
then it's just a big league table.
Aye, so you're not playing the reverse. You're not playing a
A
single
reverse
team
thing.
home and away.
Aye, you're just getting an equal amount of home and away games. I think that's how it's
Aye, no, that's right.
it works. But by the way, let us know in the chat what you
But when
think
you
of the new
fall into
Champions
that
League format.
Champions League loop, it can kill your club for a decade.
It could.
Do you know what I mean?
And it'll be interesting as well, considering the fact that after this season, even those who win the league are going to lose out in that automatic spot. We don't have an automatic spot, so you could get to a stage where, you know, whether we win the league, Celtic win the league, whoever's in second place could end up going into the Champions League group stage and the first place team don't. So it's an added level,
And this is
an added variable, and you know, someday for this point until we get the automatic spot back, there's no guarantee that one club will financially completely pull away from the other. Then everything falls on that group of players from that season.
So here's something that I find compelling, very, very interesting, right? So to get into the Champions League, you need to play the qualifiers very, very early in this. It's the first thing you do in the season, basically, and that's probably going to be our biggest games all season. It's worth the most money, so we cannot keep killing ourselves year in year out by doing big rebuilds every summer. We need to. This rebuild needs to be. It's obviously it's not going to be the complete article for the next 5 years, but the players we bring, they need to. It simply needs to work now, and you build on that, because if you're doing a summer overhaul every single summer, you're going into these Champions League qualifiers with a bunch of new players, a completely new team, and there's no way that they're going to be firing in all cylinders by the time that Champions League qualifier comes around.
And you're mainly just putting it down to kind of luck.
It's just
a hope that they gel.
It's so early on in the season
early.
that we need to be thinking 2 years, 3 years in advance. We're building teams for these next coming years for the Champions League qualifiers, because they're massive in terms of revenue.
And that's the thing when we say, like, because we don't want to separate, as you said earlier, we need a solid spine of the team. These are players that are going to be with us for years, and players who we might look at. There will be players in that team that we'll turn round and knock back a bid for when they're at their prime. Like players that are in the spine of the team, maybe a captain or whatever it is, that keep a form of consistency from season to season. Obviously, where we need to, I think having that will be the key to those early Champions League qualifiers.
Definitely.
But other than, I mean, other than Tav, Goldson, that kind of stuff, round about there, I mean, we've had just shifting like full teams and just churning
I
the
know.
full entirety of the team round about. And now it's got to the stage where the old guard at the clubs ran stale, and we're in a position where a new manager and new recruitment director has got pretty much a full squad to completely overhaul to go into crucial Champions
Aye.
League qualifiers. Where if we don't get in this, there could be a gap between us and Celtic.
Well, there already is a major
There already
financial
is a
gap,
gap,
but
but
it's a
it
gap
could
that
be
will
further.
continue to get bigger and bigger.
What?
Paywalled from a channel that couldn't afford a pint. Okay, unsubbed. Oh, somebody's angry.
Paywalled? There's no paywall in this.
Elaborate a bit more, William, would you
Give us a bit more
please?
details, because if YouTube's put a paywall in this stream, I'll be severely disappointed.
Of course we've not. I mean, the guy's here, is he not?
So John Flynn says that.
Oh, there's that free paywall where you just click on the video and it comes up for nothing. There's that. It could be that he's talking about.
The academy hasn't worked for many, many years. Very sad for a club of our size. 100%. That's what we're kind of talking about, is the fact that we're one of the two biggest clubs in this country, and our academy's just not been firing on all cylinders for a long time. But I don't know if there's any other.
No, if anybody else is want to put in their opinions or
Any
other
topics you want
talking
us to go
points,
over, let us know in the chat.
otherwise we could just wrap up, because that's coming up an hour and a half actually. Didn't realise it
No
was
bad.
long as
We're all
that.
expecting to go on for about 45 minutes to an hour, but hey ho, there's a
Hopefully
lot
we've
of
showed
stuff
up
going on anyway.
Hopefully we've showed up better in the second 45, much like the players.
But we're going to be trying to do this. We're just going to, when news builds up, we'll do a kind of, instead of doing our usual news recap, I think it'd be better to do a more interactive formal live stream.
Aye, definitely.
Because it's better getting to talk to you lot.
If you get people's opinions and talking points in real time, you can respond to them.
Aye, different perspectives.
Rather than just being in the comments. Obviously, continue to be in the comments, because that's decent as well, but it's good to
have
change
that
it
back
up.
forward. And also, that's how we'll be continuing the live streams. Also, we'll be doing, we're going to be doing like live previews to games and stuff like that as well. So, we're going to be kind of further developing the content throughout the course of the season. And a great way to help us do that, obviously you don't have to, but the BlueSea channel memberships are there. There's things like the super chat as well. You don't have to do that, but it's a great way to support us, help us invest a wee bit more back into the content, and make the content better equipment, better lighting, better quality videos in general. There's a wee join button up there, or there's a link in the description if you can't find the wee join button. So it's a great way to help. We've got another comment, Myovsky Shanks, and when is the call to Georgie being made now? Dessers seems to be on his way. Oh aye, that was another rumour as well. Apparently, was it Palk or something like that? Type in Dessers, right? Because I think there was interest in Dessers. Rangers could replace Dessers, move for stars and playable at times, blah 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 blah. I can't remember
Greek
the
club,
team. Greek
Palk,
club, Palk.
an advanced stage of discussions with Cyril Dessers.
The BBC reported that there's apparently Palk are in advanced talks with Cyril Dessers.
And Rangers appear satisfied with the financial offer that has been submitted for the 29-year-old. Interesting.
Aye, I mean, I wouldn't be sad to see it go. Aldo says my kebab just arrived. Quick supper, nothing to eat since lunch.
You enjoy that kebab.
So I think your point where was Myovsky or Shankland. I mean, I'd take any, to be honest. I'd take any. I don't know if we'll go for them, considering every single striker link that's come out so far, not one of them's ever mentioned Shanklin or Myovsky.
No.
It's all kind of been younger.
I don't see. I think if the Shankland deal was going to happen, it would have happened before now. To be honest, I think we would have pulled the trigger on it last winter break. I think that's when we desperately needed him. No, I want to say no if Shankland was on the cards during the current transfer window, but I think Miofsky is an interesting one as well. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing Miofsky, but again, I think we would have probably heard more rumours, speculation surrounding
I've not
both
seen
of
any
them.
link to Miofsky, to be honest.
Again, I think this is just fans seeing players that they would like to see at the club, but I don't think there's any sort of weight to like you say, there's not even been any rumours surrounding both of them, whereas there was potential rumours that Shankly could maybe come at the winter break, but since that never happened, it's been radio silence on that end.
John Flynn says enjoyed your content. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching, John.
Cheers, John.
Board don't want Shankland from another John. Well, again, we've seen the evidence in anything concrete in Miofsky or Shankland. To be honest, the conversation's kind of died down. It's almost us just kind of hoping it happens, or there's fans that still hoping it happens. That's the only thing that's really keeping the conversation alive. But I just,
for me, Shankland's got to be the biggest no-brainer. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he puts them away for fun in the league already. So you bring him to Rangers, he's going to get more chances. He's going to be around better players. I think he would score an absolute barrel load. But again, I would have expected, first of all, I think if we were going to sign Shankland, it would have been done by now. The players are back to training. I think that is the sort of deal that you'd expect to be done. I mean, he's already in the country.
You've done all your scouting. You know what
visa. So I would expect that one to be done if it was going to be done. But again, maybe there'll be a spanner thrown into the works, and we'll hear something about that as the transfer window kind of rolls on. But I'm highly doubtful.
Aye. Anyway, I think that'll be us then, eh?
Let's just wrap the stream up for tonight, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much for tuning in. I've already done the channel memberships spiel. Remember the links to our socials are done there as well. We're looking to be more active on X as well. If you want to go over and follow us on there at BlueSea Podcast, that would be great. Thanks for interacting, for watching. I know there's a lot of